Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My twin brother was a hot mess and died in 2009. His girlfriend announced she was pregnant and gave birth in the back of an abandoned bus. Obviously, she lost custody. I was next of kin, so I adopted my nephew, although we refer to each other as father-son, and he is doted on by everyone. My son was diagnosed with a rare form of diabetes insipidus, last year, which his doctor told him was genetic. I have no one with that in my family. I mentioned it was probably from his mother's side. That sparked an interest in learning about his family tree. He asked for a 23andMe DNA test, which I gladly bought for him, knowing it would show people from our side of the family. Nothing shocking. Well, I was shocked. When his results were ready, I reviewed them before he did. He is not blood related. He is basically Russian and Ashkenazi on the paternal side when it shows German and English on my side. It made sense. He looks nothing like me or his birth mom. This doesn't change anything, but it would destroy him to find out. He was wishing that there would be one family member with their stuff together and maybe give him a sense of history. My kid wanted to see the results himself, so I showed him mine pretending it was his. He thought it was the coolest thing ever. I feel guilty beyond belief because he and I have always had a transparent relationship, and here I am deceiving him. You're the a-hole if you don't tell him, and the longer you keep it from him, the more upset he will be, likely. How you tell him is important. I would listen to anyone who's had to tell a kid they're adopted and see how the kid reacted. I would think an important thing is that you don't have to donate genetic material to be a dad. You already weren't his DNA donor, but you are his father. As long as you don't want to let anything change that, it cannot be changed, even if your son takes some time to learn what family actually is. Don't fear your son. Love transcends these things as long as you don't choke it with your own fears. In my opinion only. Again, see if anyone who's been through something similar pops up. You would be the a-hole if you keep this up. If you have the adoption legally completed and totally locked down, find the time to tell him. He's your kid no matter what these tests say. You get an understandable second to collect yourself after you were thrown for a loop. But get this situation resolved. The lie will eat at you. Not the a-hole. The context of your post suggests your brother's girlfriend cheated on him and got pregnant with the other guy. I can't blame you for making that decision when you were put on the spot and didn't have time to process it. His mother is definitely the a-hole, but simultaneously, you need to find a way to delicately approach this. Sooner or later, the truth will emerge. When I, 21 female, was 18, I was forced to marry my husband, Neil, 28 male. Up until a few weeks ago, I thought he was also forced to marry me. He asked me to find some pictures of his old phone, and I found messages between him, his father, and my father around 6 months before the wedding, where they were discussing the wedding. I had only been told 2 weeks before, and was led to believe that he had too. Instead, he knew at least 6 months in advance, and that when my dad had told his friends and family that he planned to marry me off, my husband actually offered himself up as the groom because he thought I was attractive. Naturally, I was heartbroken. When Neil and I were newlyweds, I was a wreck. He was so patient and kind, and we bonded over us both being forced into the relationship, which I found out now is a lie. He provides for me completely, regularly buys me gifts, and is in general a very good loving partner to me. He also put me in therapy for my unresolved mental health issues from my teenage years. I felt completely betrayed, and he apologized to me profusely. He paid for my flight to go and stay with my brother because I wanted space, and after some consideration, I decided to let it go. I know my decision sounds ridiculous, but I can't change the past, and I'm happy now, regardless of what happened. For practical reasons, it also wouldn't make sense for me to leave him because I'm still a student and I don't have any savings. We began counseling and have been making a lot of progress. My father and I had a very difficult relationship, and when he forced me to marry Neil, I was actually supposed to be living with him for university. I had previously been with my mother and her husband, and the environment was hellish, so I was extremely excited to move in with my dad after years of us not speaking. It was all actually a ploy to marry me off. I didn't speak to him for a few months after the wedding. Neil fully supported me, but I eventually forgave him because Neil turned out to be the perfect partner. Now that I found out that my dad actively deceived me into believing Neil was also forced into the marriage, I've decided I no longer want a relationship with him. I called him today after avoiding him for a few weeks and told him that I knew the truth and that I no longer wanted to speak to him. I also told him that I had chosen to forgive Neil and we were going to work through it together. He said that I was being unfair, as I was letting Neil off but choosing to undo all the work I did on my relationship with him. He also said that since I'm happy now, I have no right to punish him for making me happy, forcing the marriage, and I had no right to let Neil off for the same thing. Am I the a-hole for choosing to cut my dad off but forgiving my husband for the same thing? I mean, no, I don't think you're an a-hole in any way in this situation, but this is predatory as duck for your husband to accept an arranged marriage and actively plan, then build your relationship on a lie. At least both the fathers were transparent about their role and choice, but your husband pretended and trauma bonded with you when he was a grown man, taking a girl as his wife when he was willing and you were forced. Please seek more counseling for yourself. Edit. You are not the a-hole, but you're wrong about your husband being different than your father. He is an a-hole just like every other adult in this story. Everyone sucks here. They both deceived you, and I'm glad your husband is nice to you and treats you well, but he wanted to marry you because he thought you were attractive and wanted to bed you. He supports you cutting off your dad because that's one less person in your life. Don't be surprised if Neil marries off your daughter if you have one, because if he's okay deceiving you into marriage, he'll have no problem doing it to your daughter. You might end up agreeing to it because you seem to think a marriage based on lies is okay. Not the a-hole. However, it sounds like you're trying to explain this decision like it is rational. It isn't. How you feel is valid, and you can do whatever feels right to you. But realistically, your husband effed up much more than your father in this specific situation. I, 34 female, met Steven, 49 male, 2.5 years ago. It was an unexpected love match, but I found him to be funny and kind and charming, and we had loads in common. We got married about a year ago, and everything's been great between us. Steven was married to Tiffany, 49 female, for 7 years, and they got divorced 11 years ago. They share a 12-year-old son, Taylor. Tiffany and Steven both worked in healthcare and met in school. He's a doctor, she was a nurse. Their relationship ended when Tiffany admitted to infidelity and an affair shortly after Taylor was born. Steven and Tiffany divorced, and she lived with the man she had an affair with for 9 years. She had one child with him, and they've since broken up. She then met another man, had another child with him. They have also since broken up. This is relevant because several years ago, Tiffany opted to let her nursing license lapse and to stay at home with her kids. The 3 fathers of her kids all pay child support, with Steven paying the largest amount due to his income. He has no problem with child support and loves his son. The issue arose after Tiffany's last breakup. She moved into a rental and then tried to get a mortgage approved to buy a house for her and the kids. But because Tiffany doesn't work and only has child support as her income, she cannot qualify to get a mortgage on her own. She has asked Steven to co-sign and is laying on a heavy guilt trip about it being what's best for his son, and that his son needs a home with lake access. I don't know why. We live on a lake and Taylor is rarely in the water when he's with us. The home she's currently renting is lovely, spacious, and she can afford it. Taylor has never expressed unhappiness about where they currently live when he's with us. When Steven told me this, I flat out told him not to do it. Not only do I not trust Tiffany not to destroy his credit, I also don't understand why she can't go out and get her license and start working again. There's a nursing shortage in our area, and they are generously paid. She has family nearby that will happily care for the kids. We'll take Taylor more often. And if she's unwilling to do this, then why not continue renting? Steven told me I was being harsh on her, and that it's understandable that she wants to own her own home. He's also said that he doesn't think she would damage his credit by defaulting on the mortgage. I was married before Steven, but I don't have kids. That being said, it cost me thousands to make sure my ex-husband would never have access to my finances again. Am I the a-hole for thinking that co-signing on a house with his ex is a bad move and that she should go get a job if she wants to own a home? Not the a-hole. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Not the a-hole. It's messy and signing the mortgage means he will have to pay it, especially since he won't be on the house. It means it's all risk and no reward. Not the a-hole. Holy crap. I can't believe he's even considering this. I could be wrong, and I'm not sure where you are in the world, but if you two are married, this mortgage can affect you negatively as well. Again, I don't know where you are, but I'm pretty sure it'll duck with his credit if she defaults. Isn't the whole point of a cosigner that if the primary won't pay, they go after the cosigner? This is absolutely insane to me. Edited to add, let's not ignore the fact that she asked your husband and not her other two baby daddies because he has the best paying job, not because of their son. Update. Appreciate the many responses. Stephen and I had a long talk about this when he got home from his conference. We discussed the issue this raises, and we both agreed it's a bad idea that would strain our relationship. He admitted that he was concerned Tiffany would use his refusal to alienate his son, but also knows Taylor is old enough to come directly to him now, if he needs to. He also apologized for worrying me and assured me he would never have moved forward without my consent, but wanted me to be in the know of what Tiffany was up to. I thanked him for being honest with me about what was happening, and knew that I would have felt deceived if he hadn't told me, even if he was saying no to her. We did discuss the option of buying and renting the home to her, but the idea of maybe being forced to evict her due to non-payment made us both pour another drink. In the end, he messaged his ex that while we will always be there for Taylor, he can't in good faith co-sign on a mortgage for her. She saw it and left him on red. This is about as good an outcome as I could hope for, and my husband and I were able to validate each other's feelings and ultimately come to a decision that we feel is right for us. My wife has been hinting about me getting her first designer bag for 4 years now, and I've always told her next anniversary I will. She'd smile and laugh and say something along the lines, "It's fine, love. It's just too much to ask for," even though it's something she's been asking for 4 years straight. Our anniversary is on the 24th, and I just really don't want to give her it. I'm not financially unstable. I'm very far from it, and I make very good money. But I'd rather spend my money on something that's actually convenient and helpful to her, not just some bag. Also, I'm quite sure who she is trying to impress by attempting to wear designer. We're not in high school anymore. We're almost in our 40s, and that's not really age appropriate for her. Anyways, I just went through with it and did some thorough research, and bought a very similar looking bag from a trusted website that sells replicas of designer bags for hundreds of dollars cheaper, and the bag I bought was only $300. The real bag is $700. It looked like the real deal. Unfortunately, the box that the bag came in, though, was very cheap looking and scratched up, so I had to quickly search someone that is nearby that is selling the real box, and after a day of searching, I finally found someone that lived 3 hours away from me for $150. I took off a day of work while she was working so she wouldn't wonder where I'm going. I had to spend a total of $80 of gas driving there and back. Gas is super expensive where I live. When I finally met the person, they told me that the price is $250. I told them they said $150 earlier, and their reasoning was that Christmas is close and that they really need the money for presents. I felt badly about their situation. Therefore, I added a little extra to my payment. I paid the full $300 because I didn't drive 3 hours here for nothing. I came back home right on time, which was an hour before my wife comes back from work. I put her gift in a nice bag and hid it very well. I can't stop thinking about what lengths I was forced to go through for her for a designer bag, and I feel very regretful. At the same time, I should not feel regretful because she really wanted a designer bag, so I got her one, just not a real one. But she should still be happy with the gift because she'll know how much it means to her that I got her something she's wanted for years. And I'm not going to tell her it's fake either, because I don't want to risk her getting upset or anything of the sort, especially after the struggle I went through for her gift. I love her a lot, and she means a lot to me. I'm happy I finally decided on getting her something she's wanted, and I know she'll be very grateful too. I just can't help feeling somewhat bad for getting her a fake one. I'm stumped on how I should feel about this situation. Should I feel bad or not? Am I the a-hole? Edit note. I paid an extra $50, the full $300, because they were in need of money for Christmas presents. I felt bad, so I gave extra. I would rather spend extra on a family in need of money for Christmas presents instead of a designer bag. I'm not materialistic. Combining the price of the fake bag, $300, the box, $300, the gas, $80, and the stress you had, you could have just spent a fraction more to get her the real bag, have less stress, and not lie to your wife. You're the a-hole. Yup, and a woman who has been asking for the same bag for 4 years is likely to know the difference between a knockoff and the real thing. At the very least, she will in 6 months when the bag and OP's fantasy about giving her what she wanted start to fall apart at the seams. You're the a-hole, OP, and a crappy husband to boot. Not because you don't see the point of a designer bag, or because you didn't buy her a designer bag, but because you are a liar. You don't have to buy the bag for her, but what you do have to do is not be deceitful and conniving. I would laugh at this all if I didn't feel so bad for your wife. So let me get this straight. You wanted to avoid buying a designer bag that was $700, so you spent $680, $300 plus $300 plus $80, and a significant amount of time to get a fake designer bag for your wife instead. If it's something she really wants and you don't understand or think it's worth the cost, why not just have a chat about that then and see where you come to? Deceiving her with a fake version of what she wanted is not the way to go. So, my best friend recently got engaged to her boyfriend of 6 years. She showed me the ring, talking about how beautiful it is and how she loves the diamond. There's one small issue. I know that isn't a diamond. Honestly, pretty sure the ring itself isn't even silver. You may wonder how I know this. No, I'm not able to tell if jewels are authentic at a glance. I'm a manager at a bookshop in our local shopping center, and when I'm on my lunch break, I like to wander about and check out the stalls there. I recognize this exact ring from one of the jewelry stalls that sells costume jewelry. It has the same butterfly pattern on the side of the ring that made me recognize it in the first place. Now, before anyone thinks otherwise, I don't think it's important for a ring to be expensive or authentic. You can propose with a ring pop for all I care. What matters is that your relationship is a good one, but I don't know. The fact that he made her think this is a legit diamond, it doesn't sit well with me. I don't like that she is starting out their relationship with a lie, especially as I know she wouldn't have minded being proposed to with a cubic zirconia or whatever this is. I don't want to cause trouble between them, but I also don't like keeping silent about this when she's clearly being deceived. Would I be the a-hole in telling her? A diamond wouldn't be set in silver, and lots of fake rings are near identical copies of real rings. Your best bet is to suggest she get the ring appraised, because that is good advice for anyone. Otherwise, leave it alone. If the metal is cheap, unfortunately it may turn her finger green. If that happens, let her know why it may be happening. Not the a-hole. Suggest she get the ring insured and they will appraise it and tell her it's fake. You would be the a-hole. You don't know for sure it is a fake. But someone will tell her. If you don't want her to be publicly embarrassed, you have two options. 1. Tell her she should check her or her parents, homeowners or renter's insurance to make sure it is covered and get a formal appraisal so that if anything happens, she will be covered. Or 2. If you have the boyfriend alone, let him know where you saw the rings that look like the one he purchased. Also let him know you don't have any idea how to tell the difference between a cubic zirconia and a diamond. But there are lots of people who do have that skill, not just jewelers. It is almost guaranteed that his girlfriend has a close friend, coworker, or family member who can tell the difference by just looking at the ring on her finger. But if they can't 100% tell by looking, all they have to do is breathe on it. Perhaps be more diplomatic, but you can get the point across that if he tried to fool your friend with a fake ring, it will be found out soon.